Welcome back. Now I'm going to show you how we might use social media and the types of tools that are available for social media in medicine. Some of this information came from the following website on Hootsuite. Hootsuite is a tool that's used to connect up types of social media. Hootsuite has categorised social media into 10 types, 10 categories. First of all, you can see here that there are social networks. This includes Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn. And I'm going to go through each of these in just a minute. So most of you will be familiar with Facebook and Twitter, and one of the key things about social networking is about connecting people together. Next, we'll look at media sharing. So this includes Instagram, but also Snapchat, and of course what you're watching at the moment, YouTube. This is the ability to share content in multimedia formats, and it's worth, I'll point through some of the things that we can do in those areas too. Next, the third category is discussion forums. Reddit, Quora and Digg. Reddit seems fairly popular. I'm going to go through how Reddit looks like it works. I've not used Reddit before, so this will be my first time in showing you that too. Bookmarking websites and content curation networks. This is all about finding common themes and sharing them with other people. So Pinterest and Flipboard are the two main sites that they've recommended on here. Next, section 5, consumer review networks. Now, although this may just seem like Yelp and TripAdvisor are places you might go if you were going shopping or looking for a hotel, actually our patients are now using consumer reviews of GP surgeries. So I'm going to show you some of the ways that our patients are using these to rate the surgeries, but also to rate us as doctors. And it's worth being aware of these things so that you can respond to them, especially if you're running a small business like a GP surgery. The next section is blogging and publishing networks. So this includes WordPress, Tumblr and Medium. These are ways that you can publish content. So unlike the discussion forums, actually people tend to put a lot more effort in this. It's a way of publishing your own story, and I'll show you some blogs that are quite useful in a while. Sections 7, 8, 9 and 10 are probably not that relevant to medicine at the moment, but maybe. So social shopping networks, interest-based networks, which we could look at later maybe, but also sharing economy and anonymous social networks. Certainly the GMC guidance, which we will go through in one of the next videos, talks about not keeping anonymity on social media, especially if you identify yourself as a doctor. That needs to be reconciled against real world needs and also someone's right to privacy, so maybe we can have a discussion about that as we go through. One thing that didn't seem to come up on this list was Wikipedia. Now, in my opinion, Wikipedia is a form of social media. Wikipedia, as I explained earlier, based around wikis, and this is the Wikipedia page for general practitioners. What most of you will have done in the past will have been to have used the encyclopedia features of Wikipedia, but you may not have gone into other parts of Wikipedia which are quite useful, or been involved in editing Wikipedia. So I'm just going to show you a few things. This here is the general practitioner page, and at the top here you'll see that next to read you can also edit and view its history. The idea of Wikipedia is that anybody can join Wikipedia and edit the content on the web page. So if I click on edit right now, I can see that there's a load of code on how the page would look. Now clearly not all of you are going to be that good at editing code unless you've got a background in that. So visual editing. When we go into visual editing, you'll see that the web page looks very much like it does on on the side. But what I can do now is I can sit here and I can highlight bits and copy bits. I'm not going to change anything right now in here, but the idea of Wikipedia is that you can edit the page at any time. There are checks and balances, and if you go on to view history, you'll see that there are certain people out there who are involved in data accuracy, and they will approve and disapprove of changes. You'll see that the general practitioner page has been updated as most recently as the 28th of December. This is relevant because there are famous cases of Wikipedia articles which are just completely false. First of all, Facebook. Many of you will have used Facebook before. Facebook is a very common social media and social networking site. We tend to associate Facebook with more with our friends and family members and people who we know. But there are also very well established medical communities on there. The first one is a closed group called Resilient GP that I think is really worth looking at if you've not been on it before. This is based on a group of people who've got together and to create a Facebook page which stands up for general practice. You'll find information in there about actually how contracting works, things that you should avoid doing. You'll see common stories of where people are coming with inappropriate demands. Now, this is a closed forum, and the community doesn't like the idea that people would share things outside. So therefore, I can't show you any posts on Resilient GP. Needless to say, it's something you should consider looking into when you become a fully qualified GP, and before. Here we go. This is the Kettering VTS Facebook group. Now, there may be a similar one for Northampton, but I didn't know about that. What I've got on here is actually a copy to the email you all received while I was creating and designing this session. It's a useful place where you can share information with each other, and I would really recommend that you that if you're in Kettering and you're watching this, that you join the group. But also, if you're in Northampton, certainly talk to other trainees about any groups that might be available there. There are slightly more special interest groups. So this is one here called the System 1 Facebook Users Group. The idea of this group is that it creates a method of people sharing information about System 1. System 1, as you know, is a clinical system used in most of the practices within Northampton, and slightly few of the practices are across the Kettering, Daventry and South Northants area. And clearly some people have a special interest in this area. Another social media page I should maybe quickly talk about is LinkedIn. This is a professional networking service. My experience of LinkedIn is that it's mostly people who are trying to recruit you as locums. So I would suggest that maybe you could join it, but only add people you know, because it is full of people with a different agenda. Now, Twitter was classified as a social networking site, but Twitter also has a secondary role in microblogging. So let me open up Twitter now and I'll show you the details of it. Now here we are. This is my Twitter homepage. This is what I see when I log into Twitter. What is Twitter? Essentially, Twitter revolves around writing a small message to people that you can then either categorise by using what's called a hashtag, or address another user by using the @ symbol. I'll give you an example. If I was writing a tweet right now that would be aimed at all of you, or which people who are looking at the hashtag here we go, hashtag SoMeGP2018, so that's social media GP 2018, and that you can choose anything you like as long as you all know what hashtag you're looking for, and I've shared this with you in an email, then you can follow that. you'll find that TV shows will have hashtags. For instance, the Great British Bake Off will be quite often GBBO, and you can see that that clearly has a lot of followers. The other thing, as I said, you can do is put an @ symbol, and when you type an @ symbol, what you're actually doing is addressing another Twitter user. So, for instance, I could tweet Jeremy Corbyn, or if I really wanted to, Jeremy Hunt. In the middle here, you'll also see that somebody called Jeremy Twunt is a sort of parody site, and so you have to be careful about who's who on Twitter. The way you might know this is a system that Twitter have, where they provide a tick next to the name of the user you're trying to get involved with. In this case, I'm not going to contact Jeremy Hunt, but instead we'll contact the Northamptonshire GPVTS website, which is actually at GPVTS. Look, yeah, as you can see there, that is the Northamptonshire GPVTS. You can quickly see how you can link with other people around the world or with a special interest, because at the moment I can send a link to Kent VTS, Newham GPVTS, some other maybe slightly random things, but actually other areas. So if we click on this Northampton GPVTS, so this is a test tweet for the example video on YouTube. If you want to see the whole video, search YouTube for the hashtag. Okay, so maybe that's something. You can also add a photo, a GIF. You can add a user poll, and you can add your location. Please bear in mind, whenever you add the location to a tweet, people can roughly track where you've been. And if you're particularly concerned about privacy, make sure you turn this off. On the Twitter app for mobile, this is something you need to think of. The other thing about Twitter, which is important, which is why it's considered microblogging, is the word limit. And you'll see here that Twitter has recently increased the word limit. And you'll see that this semicircle is half full because I've used half of my word limit. As I progressively type more letters, you'll see that that circle is filling up. Well, it's complete nonsense I put in there. Until eventually it lets me know that I have used all of my letters. Once again, those characters are less limited than they used to be, which allows us to share slightly more than we ever used to. To tweet the tweet, I will just click tweet. You can also add another tweet to it, but I'm not going to do that. And the idea of this is you might want to put more than one tweet in a row just for clarity's sake. I'll just discard that. What I've actually done then is completely discarded that tweet. So let's go into tweets that I've recently made. And you'll see that I've linked in the recent Reddit post, and you'll be able to see that in a moment. But also an advert to other GPs to join the social media event on Wednesday, on the day when you're watching this. So it may be that on Twitter already people will be communicating using the hashtag SoMeGP2018. The previous tweet I'd put on before that was a picture of a duck landing on some ice, which I thought was rather funny. So, that is Twitter. Who might you want to start following on Twitter? Well, of course, how about the chair of the Royal College of GPs, Helen Stokes-Lampard, or indeed Jeremy Hunt, if you really wanted to. It looks like he's caused some embarrassment for himself on there at the moment. Or, of course, recently the GMC have got involved with Twitter too, so hopefully they won't follow you. They are definitely following me. And of course you can see down here that there are suggestions, including the Care Quality Commission, Royal College of Nurses and many other people. you'll find very quickly that people use Twitter quite a lot. My main use of Twitter tends to be focused around medical conferences, and I quite often be found tweeting with the hashtag RCGPAC. So if I type that in here now, you'll find that the Royal College of GPs annual conference has quite a large following, and over time people do tend to tweet quite a lot on there about what's happened at the conference and interact with each other. You'll find that over time when somebody tweets something, there's a degree of interacting with these tweets. You can reply to a tweet, you can retweet it. What that means is that you're copying that tweet, putting it in your timeline. You can also like a tweet, and certainly tweets that receive more likes tend to receive more prominence within the top section of the hashtag view. You can see the latest tweets in that field just here. And there certainly are adverts here for the next Royal College of GPs annual conference. And you can see the people who tend to use that hashtag, or people who have that hashtag in their profiles. Once again, it always suggests to you people that you might want to follow. Once again, if you want to follow me, you can at Dr. Jamie Green. The last thing I want to show you on Twitter is lists. People may add you to a list, or you can create your own list of people who you are interested in looking at. So as well as following somebody on Twitter or being followed, you can appear on a list. Now here are a section of lists that I have been added as a member to. So for instance, a lot of drug companies might add you on. Philips Healthcare have apparently put me into the cardiologist VIP group. I'm not quite sure if I am either one a cardiologist or a VIP. But for instance, Royal College of Physicians have put me into their UK doctors group. Again, I'm not a member of the Royal College of Physicians, it's just obviously something I've tweeted. The British Medical Association have put me down into a group called UK Doctors. Pulse, the online and also print media magazine, have put me into UK's GPs on Twitter, etc, etc. So you'll find that the groups are quite a useful way of finding like-minded people for tweets to watch. Okay, so that I think covers social networking. A lot of you may be familiar with YouTube, and indeed you're watching YouTube as we speak. What you probably don't realise is that YouTube is a great way to find useful information that you can share with patients. For instance, this is a physiotherapist here who on the 18th of February published what he thinks are the top 3 exercises for sciatica and a pinched nerve. Now, one of the roles you might play as a GP is to select appropriate media to pass on to your patients. It's not always abundantly clear where to get good media from, and certainly searching for sciatica is probably not the best option. There are people, for instance, this chap here, called the Medical Futurist. He is a Hungarian geneticist who has created an online platform for sharing high quality social media content. You will find that we're going to show a video in this feed a little bit later from him. The British Medical Association have a channel on YouTube. Other areas which you could use for sharing information or sharing multimedia would be on Instagram for sharing pictures. There's not that many causes for sharing medical images on Instagram. However, most of the sites I could find on Instagram around medicine tended to be looking at more gruesome images of injuries and A&E type attendances. The World Health Organization have a page, and many other people do too, so it's worth checking to see if any of your favourite bloggers or medical educators have any areas on Instagram that you might want to look at. Snapchat is another area which you may end up hearing of, about sharing live videos and messages. The idea and the concept of Snapchat is that when you send a message, it then disappears, trying to keep the idea of safe social media alive. Having said that, I'm not particularly confident that it's a great place to be sharing anything that you wouldn't want exposing elsewhere. We can't 100% guarantee safety of any of these sites. Next, we're going to look at a website called Reddit. This is under the discussion forum area. You'll find on Reddit that there are multiple areas where you can discuss anything you like. The first thing you'll notice on Reddit is that it's actually quite a cluttered and hard to follow area. If you've never used it before, then it's very difficult. It's quite easy to get lost in what's going on. When you sign up, you'll be asked to sign up to popular threads, and you can make a comment. So I've created one here, which is the Social Media in Medicine 2018 post. See if you can find this on Reddit. And one of the things I would like to do is maybe to see if we can share some data later, and we'll talk about that. So if you haven't done already, have a look and see if you can sign up to Reddit. Again, whatever you post is in the public domain, and therefore just be careful about what you post, and we'll talk about that again in a moment when we look at some of the guidance on keeping yourself safe online. I also have Quora, which does a similar thing, and you may want to look at that as well as an area to publish in discussion forums. The next title, I should say this again. Try again. The next area is bookmarking and content collaboration. The first example of this is Pinterest. The idea of Pinterest is that you create a board with a particular title which has a collection of images that relate to that for ideas and sharing ideas. So for instance, on here I've typed in health as a search option, but you can look for, let's say gut health, and what you'll find is a collection of things that people recommend for how to look after yourself. The commonly demonstrated area of Pinterest that might be of interest is if you're interested in home decorations. So let's have a look at lampshades. Here you go. You've got everything you might want to know about lampshades that people have added collaboratively. Flipboard is more about sharing news and content there. Now, the next section of social media that you might want to look at is consumer reviews. Most of you will be familiar with places like TripAdvisor. TripAdvisor, although is starting to become more commercial now, let's have a look at a hotel that we've all been to recently for teaching. Well, sorry, the ST3s certainly have been. On here you'll find people can review freely and provide information about businesses. Now, although this doesn't seem completely related to what we do, it's worth thinking about actually where our patients can now review our surgeries. You've also got Yelp here, which is another review site which does a few more things. One thing I would say is if you're looking for, and all I typed in here was Northampton businesses. The most popular Northampton business apparently is Domino's Pizza. And I know, as well as you know, although Domino's Pizza I'm sure do make a decent pizza, they may not be the best restaurant in Northampton. And that's why we should be slightly sceptical about what the review sites that we see, but also be mindful of the fact that you could be reviewed in lots of different ways. For instance, here is iwantgreatcare.com. This is a way that you can judge doctors, health centres across the board. This is the page for Whitefield Surgery, and you can see a list of GPs down here who work there, along with reviews of the surgery and what people thought of it. This is similar to the NHS Choices website, and on NHS Choices you can leave a review and review your reviews. It also shares other information like the CQC recent visits. One area you may not have thought about was what happens when you Google something. So here I've Googled Delaprey Medical Centre, surgery that I work at. When you click on Delaprey Medical Centre, which actually is a group name, it has Eleanor Cross Healthcare, you'll see that Google has collated some information from different websites. You'll find that our rating from Google Reviews is there, along with the rating from I Want Great Care. You'll see that links to our website, but also directions to the surgery. You can look outside the surgery or look on a map and see photos of that we've uploaded to Google. Some of the more interesting and clever features are you can list opening hours, and you can edit this as a surgery. You can change your address, phone number, and other patients can suggest edits if they try something and it doesn't work. Down here you can see that you can look at when the surgery is popular. This is a really clever system introduced by Google, and it uses some smartphone applications by tracking people as they travel around the country. When they enter the area of Delaprey Medical Centre, how long do they stay there for, and what time do they come in? So I can see that on a Monday we are most busy just after 9 o'clock. That's because probably from 8 till 9 we tend to triage patients, and then the first patients start to arrive. The other time that people seem to come is after the lunch period, so between sort of 2 and 3 o'clock, but also when at 3 o'clock when the schools close. And you can write a review on Google. What most of you probably haven't done yet is you can edit your own website, the way Google shows your surgery, and in your user area. So, for instance, here you can see that Delaprey Medical Centre is one of my businesses. You can do all sorts of adverts and posts, and so, for instance, when we recently posted on the 16th of November 2017, 770 people was able to view our the fact that we had been awarded the Silver Award for Northamptonshire carers. We also talked about the review of our urgent care team, and we was able to share that too. And there are many other things you can do by keeping control of your business area. I would strongly recommend, if you do run a GP surgery or you become a new doctor in a GP surgery, that you keep control of what's happening on social media and that people can look into what's happening. The reason this is important is because actually people may leave reviews which are unfair and unfounded. And when you think about it, companies like Coca-Cola will have teams and teams of people out there looking at reviews and replying to them. For instance, if you go onto Twitter, you will quickly find that if you email a company that you're not happy with, they will have somebody whose job it is to reply. Is that something you think GPs should be doing? You may also be interested in blogging. As I mentioned earlier, a blog is a web log. This is a place where you can write something a bit more exciting and interesting. It's very different to Twitter in that with Twitter you're microblogging and putting very small posts. In places like WordPress, one of the more common blogging type softwares and websites, you're writing much longer, detailed posts. These posts clearly can show multimedia content, you can put videos in there, and people can review to them. There will be many blogs that you can look at medically. One of the interesting areas you might want to look at from blogs, or think about with blogs, is actually patient engagement blogs. So patients who have a particular condition may well find a blog for that condition. Have a look and see what blogs you can find on the internet that are medical. You'll also find Tumblr, which is another blogging website. The later sections I've chosen not to specifically look into in any more detail. The reason being, at the moment they don't show any evidence that they're being used in medicine. That doesn't mean they can't be, but at the moment there's probably not enough to tell you about them. It's up to you if you want to explore some of these areas of social media, and I would certainly recommend that you have a look at them at least and be aware of them.